Fear is one of the most powerful forces that can paralyze a human being. It makes people shrink back from opportunities, delay their dreams, and settle for less than they deserve. But here's the truth. Fear is not always based on reality. Most of the time, it's a story we create in our own mind. It's an illusion we feed, and the more attention we give it, the more it grows. Think about it. How many times have you worried about something that never even happened? You play the scenario over and over, your heart races, your body tenses, and yet, the moment passes and you realize it was all in your head. That's the trick of fear. It convinces you that danger is present when in fact, it's only a projection of your imagination. The human brain is designed to protect us. It constantly scans for threats, but in today's world, most of those threats aren't lions chasing us through the jungle. They're conversations we're afraid to have, goals we're afraid to chase, or risks we're afraid to take. Fear attaches itself to uncertainty, and if you allow it, it will become the lens through which you see everything. But here's the shift. Once you realize fear is built on a false belief, you reclaim your power. You see, fear says you can't. Fear says you'll fail. Fear whispers you're not enough. And if you buy into that story, it becomes your reality. Yet, the moment you challenge it, the moment you say, "Who decided that's true?" you weaken its hold. Take a look back at your life. Every breakthrough you've ever had came when you stepped beyond the fear. The job interview you thought you'd blow, the relationship you were afraid to start, the opportunity you doubted you could handle. Once you acted, the fear shrank. Why? Because action exposes the lie. Here's what's extraordinary. Your mind cannot hold fear and certainty at the same time. If you fill your thoughts with courage, vision, and a belief in what's possible, fear has no space to live. It dissolves the moment you focus on truth, not illusion. So, how do you break the cycle? First, recognize when fear shows up. Pay attention to the voice that says you can't. Second, interrupt the pattern. Change your physiology. Stand tall, breathe deep, move with energy. Fear cannot survive in a strong body. And third, replace the lie with the truth. Declare to yourself, "I am capable. I am resourceful. I am more powerful than this fear." Fear will always try to visit, but it doesn't have to stay. It's not the giant it pretends to be. It's smoke and mirrors, a shadow without substance. The moment you expose it, the moment you confront it with truth and action, it loses its control. And what's left is freedom. The freedom to live boldly, fully, and without limits. Have you ever noticed how quickly your state changes when you shift your body? One moment, you feel tired, anxious, or overwhelmed, and then you stand up, stretch, take a deep breath, and suddenly everything feels different. That's not an accident. It's the direct link between how you move and how you feel. Most people think their emotions control them, but in reality, it works the other way around. Your emotions are deeply influenced by your physical state. When you slump your shoulders, drop your head, breathe shallow, and move slowly, your brain reads those signals as stress or fear. But when you square your shoulders, expand your chest, breathe deeply, and move with intensity, your brain gets a different message: confidence, strength, certainty. This is why world-class athletes, performers, and leaders use rituals before stepping into high-pressure moments. They jump, clap, shout, or move in ways that generate energy. They know that if they control their body, they can control their mind. And when you control your mind, you control your life. Fear feeds on stillness. The more you freeze, the stronger it feels. But the moment you disrupt it with movement, fear begins to fade. Think about it. Have you ever been truly terrified while running, dancing, or celebrating with full energy? No, because the body and mind are connected, and high energy creates new emotions. If you want to break free from fear, don't just sit there waiting for courage to arrive. Move first, act first. Motion creates the emotion you need. That's why when you're nervous about a presentation, instead of hiding in a corner, you walk tall, breathe with power, and take up space. That's why when you doubt yourself, you jump up, shout, and remind your body what confidence feels like. And here's the secret. You don't need to wait for motivation to act. Action produces motivation. Too many people wait until they feel ready, but feelings follow what you do. The fastest way to shift fear into courage is to change the way you move. Imagine this as your new weapon. Anytime fear creeps in, interrupt it with powerful action. Stand up, breathe like a champion, take bold steps, speak louder, or push your body into motion. Within seconds, your state changes. Your physiology dictates your psychology. This isn't just hype, it's science. Studies show that posture, breathing, and movement directly influence hormones and brain chemistry. A strong stance increases testosterone and lowers cortisol. In simple terms, the way you carry yourself rewires how your brain perceives the world. So, when fear tries to trap you, remember, you don't have to fight it in your head. Fight it with your body. Move with certainty, and certainty will follow. Energy in your body creates energy in your mind. And once you unlock that, you'll realize you already carry the power to transform any fearful moment into one of strength, clarity, and unstoppable confidence. What you focus on, you feel. What you focus on, you amplify. And what you focus on consistently becomes your reality. Fear thrives in the shadows of misplaced focus. When you obsess over what could go wrong, when you magnify the worst case scenario, you hand over your power. Fear is not always about circumstances. It's about the direction of your attention. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One sees only risk, obstacles, and the possibility of failure. The other sees opportunity, growth, and the chance to step into a new level of strength. Same situation, completely different experience. The difference isn't luck, it's focus. The human mind is like a spotlight. Whatever you shine it on grows brighter. If you shine it on fear, the fear expands. If you shine it on possibility, your courage expands. Here's the reality. Your brain cannot hold two conflicting focuses with the same intensity. You can't be fully locked on fear and fully locked on your vision at the same time. You must choose which direction to pour your energy into, and that choice determines whether you remain trapped or break free. Most people let their focus drift unconsciously. They replay mistakes, magnify doubts, and dwell on uncertainty. That mental pattern builds chains of hesitation. But the moment you decide to take control of your focus, the game changes. Direct it toward what you want, not what you fear. Direct it toward the solution, not the problem. Direct it toward the future you're creating, not the past that held you back. This doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you choose the angle from which you experience it. Every leader, every high achiever, every person who has broken through fear has mastered this skill. They discipline their focus. They ask different questions. Instead of "what if I fail?" they ask, "what will I gain if I succeed?" Instead of "why me?" they ask, "why not me?" Questions are the steering wheel of focus, and focus is the steering wheel of life. Here's the shift you need. Stop feeding fear with your attention. Starve it. Instead, feed your vision, your mission, your purpose. Because where focus goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, results grow. Take a moment to test this. Think about a time when you were proud of yourself. Relive it vividly. See it, hear it, feel it. Notice what happens instantly. Your body shifts, your mood changes, your energy rises. Nothing outside you changed, only your focus did. That's how powerful it is. So the next time fear shows up, don't argue with it. Redirect your mind. Point the spotlight at courage, at gratitude, at possibility. Fear cannot survive when your focus is locked on freedom. The more you practice this discipline, the more unstoppable you become, because your mind will no longer be a prison. It will be the key that sets you free. Fear grows in hesitation. The longer you wait, the louder the voice of doubt becomes. Think about the times you stood at the edge of a choice. Should you leap or should you hold back? The mind floods with what-ifs. The heart races, and suddenly the fear feels bigger than the opportunity. But the moment you decide, the storm quiets. Clarity replaces confusion. Momentum replaces paralysis. Indecision is a breeding ground for fear. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of overthinking, where every possible outcome is analyzed until your energy is drained. And the irony is, the more you hesitate, the more convincing fear becomes. It tells you stories, paints false pictures, and magnifies risk. But when you cut through all of that with a single choice, everything changes. Decision is power. It doesn't just shape your actions, it shapes your identity. When you decide, you draw a line in the sand and declare, "This is who I am, this is where I'm going." And in that instant, fear loses its grip, because fear thrives only in uncertainty. Think of the great turning points in your life. They didn't happen because you played it safe. They happened because you chose. Maybe it was leaving a job, starting a relationship, chasing a dream, or standing up for yourself. At the moment of decision, you stepped into a new level of certainty. The fear didn't vanish. It became irrelevant because your commitment was greater than your doubt. Here's the key. Waiting for fear to disappear before making a choice is a trap. Fear doesn't leave first. You decide first, and the act of deciding crushes the power of fear. Action is the antidote. People often say, "What if I make the wrong decision?" But the truth is, the only wrong decision is no decision. Even if you stumble, even if you fail, you gain strength, wisdom, and momentum. Indecision, on the other hand, keeps you stuck in the same place, replaying the same story, living the same cycle. The most successful and fulfilled people aren't the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who decide quickly and adjust along the way. They trust themselves to handle whatever comes, instead of letting fear control the outcome before it even begins. So here's the challenge. Stop negotiating with fear. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Stop asking for guarantees. Choose, decide, commit. Because the instant you do, you send a signal to your brain, your body, and your life. I am in control. That signal drowns out fear and replaces it with momentum. Fear is fragile in the face of commitment. Once you make a choice and follow through, you discover strength you didn't know you had. And that strength compounds with every decision you make. The path to freedom is not built on hesitation. It's built on courage carved into action. The future doesn't belong to the hesitant. It belongs to those who decide. Fear often disguises itself as an overwhelming mountain. You look up, and the climb seems impossible. The voice in your head tells you that you don't have what it takes, that the journey is too big, that success is too far away. And because the peak feels unreachable, many people never even start. They stay at the bottom, paralyzed by the size of the vision. But here's the truth. Freedom from fear isn't found in conquering the entire mountain at once. It begins with movement. The biggest enemy of progress is the illusion that you must have it all figured out before you begin. That mindset keeps you locked in planning, preparing, and waiting for perfect timing. But nothing changes until you take action, and that action doesn't need to be massive. It just needs to be forward. Every great achievement, every breakthrough moment, every victory you've ever had in life started with something small, a decision to try, a conversation you dared to have, a single step that led to the next, and then the next, until momentum carried you further than you imagined. Here's the secret. Progress, no matter how small, destroys fear. Because fear thrives in stillness, in inactivity, in the space where you do nothing but think. The instant you move, the instant you step forward, the story begins to change. Action proves to your brain that you are capable. It builds evidence of strength, and that evidence becomes fuel. You don't need to know the entire path. You just need to start moving on the path. Think of a staircase shrouded in fog. You don't see the top, but the next step is right in front of you. Take it, and once you do, the next step appears. Fear hates this because it cannot survive when you're in motion. It wants you frozen, questioning, doubting. But each step weakens its hold. Sometimes people wait for courage before moving, but courage doesn't come first. Movement comes first. Action creates courage. With each step, you feel more capable, more alive, more certain, and soon what once looked impossible becomes inevitable. So instead of obsessing over the whole journey, ask yourself, what's the next step I can take right now? Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now, make the call, send the message, take the walk, write the page, launch the idea. Whatever it is, do it, because that first action has the power to shift your entire trajectory. Fear is loud at the start, but it has no endurance. It cannot keep up with a person in motion. And when you build momentum, you stop negotiating with fear. You outrun it. Your strength compounds, your confidence multiplies, and suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes part of your story of victory. Your freedom doesn't require perfection, certainty, or a flawless plan. It requires movement, and that movement begins the moment you stop staring at the mountain and dare to take the very first step. Courage isn't something you're born with in endless supply, it's something you develop. Just like a muscle, it grows when you use it, and it weakens when you neglect it. Too many people think courage means being fearless, but that's not true. Courage means you feel the fear, you acknowledge it, and then you act anyway. And every time you choose to act in spite of fear, you build strength for the next challenge. Think of the first time you did something that scared you. May be speaking in front of a crowd, starting a new job, or trying something completely unfamiliar. Your heart was racing, your mind was filled with doubt, but you went through with it. And afterward, you realized it wasn't as impossible as your fear made it seem. That experience gave you a little more confidence. That's how it works. Courage stacks. The problem is, most people avoid situations that require bravery. They wait until they feel ready, not realizing that readiness comes after action, not before. Just like lifting weights, you don't build strength by staring at the dumbbells. You build it by picking them up, rep by rep, day after day. The same is true with courage. You strengthen it by taking risks, facing discomfort, and leaning into fear, one decision at a time. Here's the beauty. Small acts of courage create massive change. You don't need to start with life or death situations. You start with everyday choices. Speak up in the meeting. Have the difficult conversation. Try the thing you've been avoiding. Each time you push past resistance, you're training your mind and body to recognize that fear doesn't control you. You control it. Over time, courage becomes part of your identity. You stop asking, "Can I handle this?" and start declaring, "I will handle this." You trust yourself at a deeper level because you've proven through experience that you are stronger than your doubts. And that trust is unshakable. Understand this, fear never fully disappears. It will always try to show up. But the more you practice courage, the less intimidating fear becomes. Just like lifting heavier and heavier weights, what once seemed unbearable now feels manageable. Challenges that used to paralyze you become opportunities that energize you. The people who live with freedom and impact aren't those who never feel fear. They're the ones who have trained their courage until it became second nature. They've conditioned themselves to respond with action instead of hesitation, certainty instead of doubt. So if you want to break fear's grip, start practicing courage daily. Don't wait for the perfect moment, and don't underestimate the small wins. Every bold step compounds. Every brave decision rewires your identity. And before long, you won't just be someone who occasionally feels courageous. You'll be someone who lives with unstoppable courage as a way of life.